The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 23rd day of October, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Folks, morning. I want to show you something. This is a napkin. You can't really see it, right? But this napkin this morning, I had some grapes, organic grapes, right? And I had green and red organic grapes. Anyway, I guess organic means fresh, like out of the ground or something. Folks, I washed my grapes and I put the red ones in the napkin to dry them off, and all this soil was like coming off them. So I was like, is this the healthy part, or like are these just dirty grapes? Help me out. Like, I don't understand what that means. It was like soil coming off of my grapes when I was wiping them down from washing them and whatnot. Yeah, it's brown soil. So let me know for the plant folks out there if this is a good thing that my grapes had some soil on them, and let me know it's better than using the what's it called, the pesticides. Yeah, it's better than using those. So that's where I'm at this morning, just concerned about my grapes having soil on them. I don't even really, I haven't really, outside of having Mr. Greg Wilson on, know much about the pesticides versus organic thing. But he came on and he spoke about that when he was speaking about gardening and growing food. But let me know if I'm cool, folks. Let me know if I'm all right. I think I ate some grape soils this morning. All right, some soil grapes. So Manuela John says grapes grow on the vine. Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe the soil blew up on them. I don't know. We've got part of the organic appeal makes you think they're more organic. Dr. Anthony. But here's the thing. I don't even look at stuff to see whether it's organic or not. I just get what I want. If the price looks right, and sometimes it's not even the price, it's just, well, that's what's available here. But I'm gonna maybe ask somebody, why they had this brown stuff. Because she's right, the vine's not in the ground, but maybe the soil blew up. Suzanne Ingham says it's a super awesome Thankful Thursday, Jamal. Hey, awesome one to you as well. Dr. Anthony Rich says it's a fraud, he says. I remember saying, man, they could put it organic next to anything and we'll believe it's healthier, right? But hey, not my space. Anyway, greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Governor of Bermuda, His Excellency Andrew Murdoch, onto the show. We're going to be learning a bit about what the actual UK representative in Bermuda does. Its responsibility and role. First time on the show. The last time we had a governor on was last December, I believe it was, or earlier this year. Sorry, it was Governor Rena Lalji, who was exiting Bermuda. Folks, the Daily Play is a name that place today. Name that place. Yeah, name that place. It's a question about an island. It's a question about an island. All right. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, here's the questions of the morning. What can we do to make bike riding safer on Bermuda's roads? And do you ride a bike regularly? Yes or no? Are you a bike rider in Bermuda regularly? Well, this question comes from yesterday. After yesterday's show, we got a message from one of our viewers, and basically what they said, it was regarding Teo's news break, right? And Teo said during his news break yesterday that he spoke about the likelihood of dying on Bermuda's roads is pretty much higher than anywhere else. And the question that the audience member sent, they basically said, what can we do to make bike riding safe in Bermuda? And well, that's the question we have on the screen. I don't know if you all feel that. Teo has given us some stats this year. Maya has told us earlier this year or last year where majority of the fatalities were happening. Do you all take this information and utilize it? So if Maya says, well, hey, the majority of the road fatalities are taking place in this particular space in Bermuda. Do you know, let's use T Street as an example. We know it's a hot spot for collisions. Do you take extra precautions in these spaces, right? When I'm using my GPS and I'm on the highway, it'll say you're approaching a frequent accident spot, right? And for me, it's always a shock to me because I'm like, oh boy, let me just be extra careful. Do you approach things like that? Like, I guess the question I'm asking is, if Maya and Teo in particular are giving you this insight, what are you doing with the information? What are you doing with the information? All right. So again, question of the morning is, what can we do to make bike riding safer on Bermuda's roads? And do you ride a bike regularly? Like, how many people in the audience ride versus drive? We've got Suzanne Ingham says, thankfully, I do not ride a bike anymore. Okay. How many others don't ride a bike anymore? And honestly, you don't even have to ride the bike, folks. You don't have to be the bike rider. You literally, I mean, one of my biggest, people always say, why don't you like to drive in Bermuda? Well, I mean, sorry, drive in Bermuda, because I do ride. And I said, because I don't trust the riders. That's honestly why I don't like to drive in Bermuda. I don't trust the riders. And what I mean is the third lane stuff and people coming up on your blind sides and me taking a turn and someone coming inside me. Like, I've just seen so many crazy things, and I'm more concerned about what others will do versus me. I remember being in my mom's car when we were young, and it happened with my sister under me last year, I think. People striking from behind, because on such small roads, you don't have to be going that fast for a collision to happen. Just not pay attention one quick time. Something in the roads. Yeah. All right, audience. Again, questions of the morning. What can we do to make bike riding safer on Bermuda's roads? And do you ride a bike regularly in Bermuda? WKD Lama says, it is cultural. We grow up watching unsafe practices and we copy them as soon as we are. Well, I'd agree. Back in my day, I don't know if they still have pack racing or, chicken and stuff like that, but there were very, very unsafe practices when I was coming up. Every bike was getting a kit, as they called it back then, getting it souped up. That was the norm when I was growing up. I don't know if it's still like that. Can anyone confirm whether that's still a thing? I honestly do not know. Is it still a thing? Let us know. What else, audience? What else? What else? Stacey Ann Brown says, I ride a bike. Well, we know, Stacey Ann Brown, we know that you ride that bike safely. So we have no concerns about you riding a bike. Please be safe. Please be aware. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, nope, too dangerous. Even as a passenger, perhaps crack down on the speeding or flag hotspots to be aware of. through public announcements or road safety campaign. I like what he said, but again, Teo and Maya have given information. How many people it goes in one ear and goes out the other? How many people take it and say, you know what, I'll give you an example. When I was in Bermuda working back in like 1999, 2000, I was working at the airport. So I lived in, Pembroke, and I had to go to St. George. I would always take Harrington Sound Road. Harrington Sound Road had these places on the road where there were these potholes back in. I knew where the potholes were. And so I would avoid them. If you're riding a road you don't normally know or ride and you're not familiar, you need to be extra careful. But also, just because you know the road, you should still take those precautions for those who don't know the road. Richard Scott says the latest spate of accidents on Harbor Road has caused me to drive more cautiously on Harbor Road. I only take Harbor Road when I'm heading into town. And you all, my father's proof that I'm not a grandpa driver. He thinks I actually drive faster than most people give me credit for. Now, other people like the Sheriffs of the World and others think that I drive like a grandpa. I'll just say this much. I'm defensive when I drive. I'm extremely defensive, meaning if I believe there's someone who'll just come out of the gate, I'll give you an example. Is it Longford Hill? If I was driving into town on Harbor Road and Longford Hill, which takes you up to Cedar Hill there, right? That they have the mirror there. Whenever I'm heading into town or coming west, that hill is a blind, spot for people coming off of that hill. It's a blind spot. I am very careful and cautious. However, the amount of times people come beating across me right there, I'm just like, and there you go. There you go. Because all it takes is someone not to see anything in the mirror. They're looking that way, look in the mirror, and they come out and a bike's at 70, 80K is right going through them just like that. That's what I mean, riding defensively. Just kind of thinking ahead. That's all we have to. Stacey Ann Brown says, I get annoyed with my fellow bike riders at times because I see the stupidness that they continue to do. Okay. Nicole Hassel says, every work day I ride my bike, but I also take the ferry much. Okay. So take the ferry. I ride my electric bike around the neighborhood. I like that. James Burgess says, I haven't driven since 2017. All right. Do you trust the people who are driving you, James? We've got Sean Smith says, yes, when I was living in Bermuda, he did ride a bike. Dr. Anthony Richardson says to drive in Bermuda, you have to drive defensively. And unfortunately, Dr. Anthony Richardson, people don't. People don't. Like, and this is no shame to anyone else. Look, folks, I ain't perfect. Your boy is not perfect. All right. I am not perfect. But if it's one thing I'm going to do, just one thing I'm going to do is drive defensively or ride defensively. Why? Because one, I want to get to my destination safely. And two, well, let me rephrase that. One, I don't want to hinder anyone else getting to their destination safely. And I want to get to my destination safely. Two, have you seen insurance rates? They are looking for an excuse to raise your insurance. Don't give them one. Don't give them one. Charles H. Jefferson II says, I don't ride a bike anymore, but I mostly drive defensively because of bike riders. They scare me. Okay, so it's not just me. It's not just me. Suzanne Ingham says, yes, I do look out for areas and do my best to be aware of who is around me and how close they are. I don't want to be distracted on the road. I prefer to focus as I'm driving. Manuela John says, I don't ride a bike anymore. And when I see riders, I'm thankful that I don't. Free bus for seniors. I like that, taking advantage of the public transportation. Nicole Hassel says, I think we all know the speed limit and see the multiple facilities. I think she means fatalities. It's simple. It's just simple. Slow down and don't drink and drive/ride. It's that simple, Nicole. It's that simple. I think we all have more control than we think or than we want to take responsibility or accountability for. We all have more control. That's the reality. We do. Accountability. We've had these conversations before. Stacey Ann Brown says there have been so many campaigns by the police and other groups about safety, yet people still continue to ride crazy. If you're a licensed rider, you know that there are road rules. Absolutely. Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Keep the comments and questions coming, but she's absolutely correct. Look, some people look at rules like they look at records, right? In sports, they're meant to be broken. That's just not how it works. It's not. It's not supposed to be how it works, folks. That's not how it's supposed to work. All right. Stacey Ann Brown also says, but people still continue to break these rules. They do. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we've seen the carnage. We've seen the carnage, folks. We've seen the carnage that happens when we don't abide by rules that are created and policies and legislation to protect us. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, one thing we could do to make it safer would be to offer a viable alternative. I would love to see an option for a home to have one regular car and maybe two or three of the mini electric cars for 16 plus. I like that suggestion, Charles. I mean, young people probably won't like it, right? Because, everybody wants to have that bike when they turn 16. But I like it. I think if they had the same freedom to maybe decorate, or maybe decorate's not the cool word to use, set up or spray paint and, bring the personality to their vehicle. I'm telling you, Charles, two or three mini electric cars, man, take me back in time. I'll rock it. Nah, they'll be calling me Steve Yako in my little electric car. Because remember, Steve Yako had the Izetta? You guys remember the Izetta? Now it may be cool to have an electric car, but back then you'd have probably got teased for having like a Steve Urkel like car. But I see your point as far as safety, Charles. Zena Trott says, I haven't ridden a bike in years, and the last time I rode, the car drivers were horrible. Having said that, these days riders are just reckless, overtaken in front of oncoming cars. When I read a police report, or when Teo or Maya should report, and they said that the vehicles were traveling in opposite directions, who was on whose side is the first thing. That's what it makes me think of, Zena Trott. It does. Manuel John says, in addition to don't drink and drive, we should also be attentive to our surroundings and avoid distractions. Yeah, put the phones down. Leave the distractions, put things aside, folks. Dr. Anthony Richardson said, what about creating a tram system to get people in and out of the city? Use the old railway system. I think that's more of a money thing. That will probably take some private investment. But I think Dr. Ewart Brown tried that with the ferry system, right? Increasing the ferries, right? But I don't think that's a bad idea if financially we can make it work. Nicole Walker says, rarely ride a bike. Some bike riders are reckless. Saw a video of tourists at rental shop who decked out and wonder if they were still allowed to rent. We all need to make better choices and slow down. Absolutely. Zena Trott says, this morning, a rider traveling in the opposite direction overtook, and I had to slam brakes to avoid hitting me. That's unfortunate. It's extremely unfortunate. And we can have these conversations till the cows come home. I think that's the term saying that people say. But we can have them over and over and over. But personal choice, man. I think we've all lost people. Or know someone who's lost someone on Bermuda's roads. I think that really something that stands out to me with most collisions is how avoidable they are. And that comes down to personal responsibility. Folks, this was your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Let's show them some love. We're going to bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour News Break. Then we have the Governor of Bermuda, His Excellency Andrew Murdoch, coming on for a conversation.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty. Thank you all so much for your contribution. If you haven't already, if you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Let's bring my applause in for your Daily Hour News Break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you?
This discussion always gets me, just in the feels and just thinking about all the things I've said before, basically.
And you know what's crazy, Maya? Like when the audience member reached out yesterday about this, in my head, I said, well, we've had this discussion so many times, right? And I'm not saying that you and Teo get tired of like doing this. It's what you do. But I do wonder, like, if it goes through one ear and out the other sometimes when we have these conversations, because I think we all know what to do. But I don't know if you've experienced it, but when I've been riding in Bermuda recently, like I said, that one particular junction on Harbor Road, I am very cautious, and people just zoom past me. Like if I had my camera with me on and people saw it, they'd be like, "Oh, he wasn't exaggerating."
Mm-mm. I know you weren't be exaggerating because those roads and the way people are riding around, even driving in Bermuda, it is a sense of the probability is still low, so I can do this and hopefully I'll survive. That's what I think is going through most people's heads when they decide to do something reckless, is that they don't think nothing's going to happen to them until it actually does. So that seems to be, the consensus really with most people who do get in accidents. People never think it's going to happen to them until it does. Now, in terms of like definitely speeding. Now, in terms of like what we can actually do on the island, one idea that I did bring up to the ministry, this was so far ago, like long ways ago, was that we should probably, in the one particular area where Ferry Stretch, have rumble strips on the side there. I remember saying like, well, maybe we should have lights so we can't have a wall and things like that. And for the people who don't know, when my family used to camp there, cart match, a Rackers driver fell asleep at the wheel, slammed into my family's tent, killed my uncle, injured my aunt for life. And after that, it was like, well, what can we do to make this road safer? Because it wasn't the first time I've even seen an accident kind of happen on that Ferry Stretch. I'm sure a lot of people have either fallen asleep on that wheel because it's just a straightaway. And I was like, let's put some rumble strips like they have in the States and they have it in Canada as well, right on the sides. It's not going to bother the airplane system. It's just going to like wake people up if they go way too far on this side or that side. It's wide enough to do that. But it wasn't really taken into consideration. So,
and you know what, Maya? Some people may say, well, why you didn't keep pushing? Folks, it's draining. It takes a lot. And when I say draining, it's not about laziness. It's an emotional thing. She just spoke about her family, right? It's emotional. It's emotionally draining. But that's why it's so important for collective community efforts, and also to support things like this before it actually hits home for anybody else. But yeah.
And of course, another reason was being that, well, money. Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
That's
why I said earlier to Dr. Anthony Richardson, to his tram ideas, like some of it may take private investment.
A lot of it's going to take private investment because we already know like our roads had been neglected for so many years, and that's why they're in the condition that they are right now, because we've been doing patchwork and band-aid solutions this whole time, and we're just starting to actually put down real pavement, after years. So it's not a priority.
Unfortunately not.
No. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. Now, keep the flu from slowly getting into your household and getting it out immediately. People's Pharmacy has trusted remedies and helpful advice for quick and easy pickup as well. So make sure you head to them for all your needs for the season coming up. All right. So in our news, breaking it this morning, devastating to hear, what the Bermuda Police Service can now confirm the identity of the victim in the fatal road traffic collision, which occurred on Middle Road near the junction with St. Paul's Lane and Paget. Taya would have reported this yesterday on the show as 60-year-old Stuart Alboy. Now, the BPS extends their sincere condolences to the family and friends of the deceased, and a liaison officer has been assigned to the family. The investigation to the incident is ongoing, and the BPS are appealing for anyone with any information to please contact investigating officer Police Hill, and that's on 247-1788.
Very, very sad, and just sending love to the family, friends, and greater community of the victim.
Indeed. Now, moving on to more police-related news, suspected drugs packages have kind of gone up on shore in Bermuda. So what's happened is that the Bermuda Police Service is currently investigating the discovery of multiple packages of suspected controlled drugs that have washed ashore along various areas of Bermuda's coastline. So the BPS received several reports from members of the public regarding the suspicious packages found floating in the water and along the shoreline. So responding officers from Police Community Patrol officers, the Coast Guard, and the drug unit attended the scene and recovered the packages, which have since been seized and secured as evidence. And now, preliminary examination suggests that the contents are consistent with illegal narcotics, and the packages will undergo forensic testing to confirm their composition and origin. So the packages will undergo that, and the Detective Inspector Jason Smith, who is the head of the drug unit, stated that we are actively investigating how these packages came to be in Bermuda's waters and whether they are linked to any maritime activity or regional drug trafficking operations as well. So members of the public are advised not to touch, move, or open any suspicious packaging found on the beach or in the water if they happen to come across this again, and to immediately just call 211 and the police.
Something tells me there's going to be a lot of new fishermen out on the waters the coming days.
We'll find out. The investigation is now open, and hopefully we get some more added context as to like where this actually came from.
No, and Maya, seriously, all jokes aside, I think, if we're keeping our community safe and this stuff off our shores, out of people's hands, I'm all for it. So all jokes aside, good work. And if you see it, report it.
Yeah, to find out that they, even knew about this because of members of the public, people have, the conscious thought. So if they see this, let me call the police, and not try to take it upon themselves to do anything with it, or even try to deal with it themselves. So good thinking on the members of the community part.
Yeah.
Now, again, we're still talking about basically the legal stages in Bermuda, but Bermuda's prisons have just had an outside checkup. Now, I brought to you guys a story about how Minister and the Attorney General Kim Wilkerson is really actively trying to make the corrections facilities better, like safer to be in, especially for those who work there and for those who are currently incarcerated there. So what's happened right now is that at the request of the Attorney General and Justice Minister Kim Wilkerson and the Governor Andrew Murdoch invited an international team to review our correctional facilities. Now, the 10-day visit ran from October 6th to the 15th, and the panel was led by Robert Harper from the UK Ministry of Justice and includes senior prison leaders from the UK as well as Cayman Islands and Turks and Caicos. Now, they toured Westgate and the co-ed facility and spoke with inmates, officers, and managers, and met the Treatment of Offenders Board, the Parole Board, and community groups involved in rehabilitation. They had full access, and the review was measuring Bermuda's system basically against the Nelson Mandela rules as well, and the global standard for treatment for prisoners, with a focus on rehabilitation, as we've been talking about so constantly on this show about the Westgate facility and the guests that have appeared, and basically preparing people to return into the community. So Minister Kim Wilkerson says the government welcomes the findings. We don't have them just yet, and I did request that when they do, when will they be shared? So once we find out those findings, we'll bring them right here to you on the show as well.
Gracias.
Yeah. And I want to close it out with some happier news, some sports-related news content, as I like to do for you guys. So our 2024 Olympian and flag bearer, Adriana Panruddock, is definitely telling us that she'll be back in the LA 2028 with a stellar performance over the weekend. So Olympian Panruddock podiumed in the wild weather at the ILCA UK National Open 5 in Weymouth. So only 3 ILCA 6 races were sailed on day 1 before day 2 was completely cancelled for high winds, but Panruddock finished 3rd overall in a fleet of 81. 81, she finished 3rd. So she scored 10 points with the result of a 5th place, a 4th place, and an overall win in the final race. So incredible work there.
Wow. I see that and I'm just like, man, I'm afraid of falling over in the water.
It's hard,
yeah?
That's a lot of core. It's a lot of core, a
Yeah.
lot of strength breath. I remember seeing some of her videos of her training, and I'm just like, you'd think that maybe most of her training would be like on the water, but I swear like 50, 60, 70% of it is in
Mm.
that gym, working the core, working her
Yeah.
legs on the bike. It's a lot that she has to put in for this.
I learned America's Cup, they had that little simulation thing at BUEI. I was like, oh no. How's the weather looking, Maya?
Weather's looking like a mix of sun and clouds, and maybe 1 or 2 passing showers as well. And you got a high of 79 degrees.
Thank you so much, folks. Couple things. It is National Croc Day. I don't know if you guys wear Crocs. I wear my Crocs every morning for the show. But it's also National Talk Show Host Day. Talk Show Host Day. So what's your favorite talk show? Like what was one of your favorite talk shows? And I know you're all probably gonna say Oprah, but what was your favorite talk show growing up, folks? What was your favorite one, Maya?
I don't want to be a cliche and say Oprah. There were a couple that my family did watch. It's like those very limited channels though. But I have to give it up to not controversial maybe, but Wendy Williams, because she really just said what everyone wanted to hear. And it was a new piece of like talk show that kind of made everyone really tap in. Like a hater, whatever, you were tapped into it. So that was like from moving from Oprah to that was like, oh, there can be different forms of how you can, speak on television, and then what we now have today. So it's just a lot of free opinions, free thoughts, and people just saying what they say, but it's what people want to hear.
Yeah. She did break barriers, and Wendy, I believe she was another one who got her start from a Bermudian, Elroy Smith, or at least she worked under Elroy. Well, Dr. Anthony Richardson says Donahue. I remember Donahue with the white hair. Yep. I'm not going to be that guy to say Jerry Springer or Maury, but they were hilarious.
They pushed media too, not in the ways we probably would have wanted for our community, but they pushed media.
Yeah. I liked Ananda Lewis. I think she passed away recently. She was very young as well, but she was one. Montel Williams. I did appreciate Ricky Lake. As far as radio talk, Everest DaCosta. He was special. Bermuda, he was special in Bermuda space. I absolutely appreciated him. And Suzanne Ingham says, TDH, growing up, I played when growing up. She said, but so TDH today. Sally Jassy Raphael says, was her talk show host, Kathy, here with me. All right, well, folks, we've got to run. We've got the governor coming up. We've got to take a quick break. Maya, you got any questions you want to ask the governor?
Oh, they'll be in the comments.
Oh, okay. Well, but we'll see you later, Maya.
See you later.
All right, folks, we've got a very special guest, His Excellency, the Governor of Bermuda, Andrew Murdoch, coming up after this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Again, keep your comments short and respectful questions, and he will be happy to engage. All right, so do not go anywhere. We'll be back after this short break. Stick with us.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear. You can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
At HSBC, how we do business in our community is as important to us as what we do for our community.
We are here at Hungry Bay with HSBC today. We're planted over 500 mangroves using 2 different methods. This work is very vital for our mangrove ecosystem and would not be possible without HSBC's generous support.
I am super happy that we have a team here of colleagues helping us replant some of the mangroves. Mangroves are critical for preserving coastal nature, and with recent hurricanes, they have been taken away by waves. By replanting them, we are really helping nature be at its best.
Thank you so much for HSBC for sponsoring the Microforest Project, but by extension, the Hungry Bay Restoration Project.
Thank you to all of the charities, corporate partners, and HSBC volunteers for your commitment to our community.
SCARS stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets, and we are a Bermuda nonprofit organization whose mission is to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse and to be an advocate and a voice for children who've been sexually molested, as well as their affected family. New media like the Daily Hour is really important in partnering with organizations like SCARS. It's another platform for us for awareness. There can be no radio silence as it relates to child sexual abuse, and we need as many initiatives as we can get. We need to keep this message alive. In terms of us and the work that we do, live engagement is good because it allows the audience to ask questions, to make comments, even to provide us with encouragement and support. What I love about the live engagement when SCARS is being interviewed by Jamel is just this feeling of safety, this feeling that he gets it. He cares about children. It's a connection.
Welcome back to this big show. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio areas with these most important community conversations. Don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Folks, some of you still haven't done it. So if you have not completed our survey, please complete our survey. We're going to start giving out some prizes. Tomorrow, we have a lot of things that we're giving away. We want to reward you, but help us gather information as we try to give you what you want. All right, as we make this show better and better and better. But without further ado, we've got a very special guest coming by. I believe it's his first time. He's the Governor of Bermuda. Please, let's give a warm TDH welcome to Governor Andrew Murdoch. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Yeah, morning, Jamel.
Well, first off, we did get off to a rough start, Governor. I have to share this with the public. I asked the governor, folks, sir, who's your football team? And he said Liverpool. And, well, you all know I'm a former Manchester United fan. I've had a hard couple years with Manchester United, and my stress levels, my blood pressure wasn't too good. But I think, Governor, I'm back on board, especially after the latest game.
Yeah, do you know what? It was I've been supporting them for even when they were losing, so many years. So not just the ride in the recent ride, you know.
Yeah. I say Liverpool fans are probably some of the most loyal folks because you went a long time, and Manchester United fans are now experiencing what you all did, right?
Yeah. So you've given up on them, have you?
I think no. Me and ownership haven't seen eye to eye. Me and the ownership haven't seen eye to eye.
Okay,
so
got it.
It's more the ownership, not the club and team. Governor, thank you for doing this. Thank you for stopping by. This is. I must ask you before we get in. We had National Talk Show Day today. Did you have a favorite talk show? Have you ever been into talk shows before?
Have I been? Well, yeah. I was just thinking about that because I was listening to your show. Graham Norton is my favorite. I think he's an absolute genius, and I think he's hilarious. So I do enjoy Graham Norton. He's brilliant.
I like that you have a talk show. One more question before we get into the conversation.
Sure.
This morning's discussion, we were talking about Bermuda's roads. Governor, do you ride a bike in Bermuda?
I know, not a scooter now. I've got a car and I've got a just normal bike. for the railway trails. But yeah, I mean, it's a problem here. Even in my first week here, I went for a run, and I basically crossed one of the, proper zebra crossing near the house. And both cars, so the car stopped to one side, car stopped to the other, and I just ran across. And this scooter just overtook. And I'm not joking, I was about a meter away from taking me out. And I was like, this place is crazy. Because they must have seen there was both cars had stopped both sides. So that was my arrival ceremony on Bermuda scooters. So I'm really, I get it in the kind of the number of accidents and of course fatalities is absolutely shocking for the size of the population. It's bad.
Thank you for that, because I think sometimes as we discuss these things on the show, and again, the audience directs us in terms of what they deem important conversations. And yesterday, someone wanted to discuss this in particular. And I'm like, we've discussed this so many times. And, they're like, well, that's your job. This is what you guys do. But it's hard because sometimes, it just feels like it goes through one ear and out the other. Like, folks, this stuff, whether we believe it or not, in such a small community, as the governor just said, small place, it impacts us all somehow.
Yeah, and each one of these accidents, whether injuries. That's the thing. If you get hit on this, serious injuries are probably pretty likely as well as fatalities, and it ripples. It's life-changing for either the victims, those who may have been the cause of the accident, and of course, if there's a tragic fatality, and the impact that has on family and friends, and it's really big, and it lasts well for a lifetime. So I think efforts in terms of controlling, a lot of it, you've all been the overtaking on the roads. I know everyone's always in a rush to get somewhere, but it's not, the trouble is, it's not surprising when you hear about some of the things because of the driving. So I agree with you in terms of what do you need to do to kind of reduce and mitigate this, because it's the levels seem, for me, coming in first year, it's remarkably high, and it's definitely.
I'm just glad that you feel comfortable to be as honest about it, and I hope people hearing it from you helps make change. I hope they wow, I didn't think of it like that, because maybe it's our voices that just they tune out. But Governor, thank you for your perspective on that. Let's jump into today's conversation.
Sure.
So for those who may not be familiar, just explain to the audience what it means to be the United Kingdom's representative in Bermuda.
Yeah, sure. It sounds like the obvious question, what does the governor actually do? So it's a fair question. For those that come across, the governor in the work environment, you have a better idea. For a lot of people, that's not the case. So, as you know, there is, the Bermuda's an overseas territory of the United Kingdom, and the relationship between, the government and the UK is set out in the Constitution of Bermuda, which has been amended from time to time. But what it does is set out, how the government functions, elections. I don't know the last time you've read it, as well as all the, basic human rights. But it does set out, the executive, who the government is, the cabinet, and their roles and responsibilities, key positions like the judiciary, Auditor General, Director of Public Prosecutions, these big kind of institutional parts of the Constitution. And one part of it is the governor, and the governor is given under the Bermuda Constitution special responsibility for defence, external relations, police, and internal security. So those are the matters for the governor rather than the government. But then it's not quite as simple as that, if it only was. So things like funding are still government of Bermuda. Issues have been delegated over the years in terms of recruitment responsibility delegated to the government through their ministries. So the relationship in broad terms is, high levels of autonomy for the elected government, which which you want, but there's certain reserved matters, as I say, defence, security, and external affairs, and that's really those kind of state external issues with the governor. So that's the role,
okay.
And some of it's also about general governance. So appointment of independent officials is held often with the governor rather than the government, so to make it non-politicised. And that's the general kind of underlying principle. So yeah, that I mean, you go through details, but that essentially is the role.
Okay. And audience, I'll get to your questions and comments in a second, so you can continue to send your questions and comments. So that said, walk us through a typical day. Like what does a typical day as governor of Bermuda look like? And how do you balance that, right? Your constitutional duties with community engagement? Because I will say, I see you a lot of places and I'm like, man, he is very engaged.
Yeah, so I mean, as my team will know, I do have a tendency to say pretty much yes to everything. Not absolutely everything if I can, but I think it's important to be out and about and to meet and talk to people. So I don't have a typical day, I think, is the short answer to that. And I think everyone in Governor House probably agree with that. So I have regular meetings throughout the month. So I meet the Premier, for example, every week for a session regularly, and some other ministers on regular basis. Same with the police, the regiment. So there's a kind of a rhythm of meetings that are in the diary. Independent office holders and the like. So that those things are kind of set out. And then some of it is about looking at events, external events like visits. We just obviously had the visit of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Gloucester, or ministers that come in, so external visitors. And then it's about things that I want to do. So reaching out, saying, can I come and talk to you about certain matters, or being asked by different organisations, the groups say, would I be interested in coming along, supporting an event, speaking at an event, meeting them in their organisation to learn a little bit more about, and obviously I'm really keen to do that. So it's a real mix, and and quite full.
Yeah, it sounds it. It sounds it. Let's speak about the relationship between Bermuda and the UK. It has deep historical roots. How would you describe that relationship today, and where do you see opportunities for growth or collaboration? Yeah,
sure. So I suppose it's also worth remembering, am I the UK government? And the short answer is no. So my role here is to represent and support the people of Bermuda. So that is my aims and objective in terms of doing the best for Bermuda. The UK government, obviously I have a links into that through this office. And I suppose if you ask the UK government in terms of that relationship, it will be one of, Bermuda is part of the family of overseas territories. And it's a respectful relationship, one that respects the autonomy that's given to the government and their elected, the elected representative of this country. But also recognising there are responsibilities the United Kingdom has for its overseas territories too. So I think it's one of kind of a partnership, mutual respect, support. So if there are issues here in terms of where an overseas territory, Bermuda or another one, for example, there are areas that the UK can assist with. They will lean into that support as well. And of course, there's all the issues about nationality support. The relationship, because being part of an overseas territory, access to education, health system, and other things. So I think I've seen it as a very respectful relationship between the two. And of course, overarching that is the constitutional responsibility of His Majesty the King as the sovereign and crown representative as well. And you've seen a little bit of that. Although the Justice of York Justice of Gloucester, was here, as Colonel in Chief of the regiment, as a kind of honorific position. So there are those types of things too.
Indeed.
Hopefully that gets to your question.
Thank you for that. You've made a point, though, of connecting with people across different sectors, from schools to small businesses. What have you learned about Bermuda and its people through this engagement?
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I mean, I've made a conscious effort to reach out and talk to people. And I think, as you can imagine, coming in very conscious that, I've been here less than a year and have responsibilities, in respect to Bermuda, and I want to make good decisions and help make a difference. So, when you start a new job or anything, it's really important to get to know much about, your role and responsibilities and everyone you interact with as quickly as possible. So that's what I've tried to do, to speak to people, listen to their concerns, judgment free, and hopefully in a way that people will tell you what they actually think rather than what they think you want to hear. And I've seen a lot of different organizations, non-profits as well as organizations. So kind of reflections on that. This place has so many layers. So there is a superficial layer that you'll get from Bermuda if you're here for a few days on a holiday. Mm-hmm. Those who live and work here or here for a longer time will know there's so much more depth to this place and its people. And I've been really pleasantly surprised about that. So one of the things that I think this place is incredibly good at, with a relatively small population, is the talent you have here across the board, whether it's business, arts, culture, education. There are some incredibly talented people here. And I think I actually literally mentioned someone the other day, if you've got a town in the UK of a similar sized population and then looked and compared and contrast the kind of people you've got here and what they're delivering compared to that, this place absolutely outshines it. It's very impressive. And also the community-minded nature of Bermudians, I think, is incredibly impressive. People do care about this place and they're very passionate about it and what they're doing. So, really positive reflections. And also, of course, never judge anyone. You always should know, meet someone, never judge them by first impressions. But here, you need to really focus on that, because you'll meet someone in one capacity, and if you start talking to them, you'll find out, I own a business doing this, I've got a degree in this, I've got I've exhibited in this art gallery, I've made a film. It's like, it keeps goes on, and it keeps happening. So you got to say, I mean, it's very impressive. So it's great.
Multifaceted people, let's go to the audience, Governor. Some of these questions are long, but we've got Dr. Anthony Richards. He says, Your Excellency, thank you for taking your constitutional role as governor seriously. This is something that Bermuda hasn't seen in decades, not since perhaps Governors Langley or Leather. Are you open to constitutional reform, giving the government control over the police? The current arrangement seems antiquated, a leftover from the days of empire.
Yeah, so, well, thank you for the first bit about trying to take the role of the Constitution seriously. And I think absolutely right. I mean, if you get your responsibilities in a job, you should be held accountable for them. So, whatever the constitution of the day is, then I'll take those responsibilities seriously and do what I can to fulfill those. Constitutional reform, it's always an ongoing discussion between, the overseas territory and the UK government, rather than the governor. This is a conversation between the UK and government, obviously reflecting the will of the people of Bermuda. And I think there are definitely areas of the Constitution which would be usefully changed, and you might describe them as tweaks to update them. In areas that are reasonably well known in terms of making it efficient. Where you get to a point in terms of the balance between things like internal security and policing is often one that is, and that is actually one of the main parts of the role and I think that would be an incredibly sensitive thing, short of independence, essentially. So essentially, where you have a constitutional arrangement with the United Kingdom, there is essentially still responsibilities that the UK government has over its overseas territories. And so the core parts of that will be security and defence, and police is part of that. So I think that's probably a tricky area for constitutional reform. I think it's, there are delegations that have happened. As I say, there are ways where certain my responsibilities to the police in the past have been delegated to the government in terms of, I said, funding and recruitment, which makes efficiencies. So there are ways of kind of manoeuvring within that to make efficiencies within that. And of course, those conversations are always open to have.
Indeed. Let's go to another question from the audience. Traveling Trot is asking, for residents of Bermuda and other overseas territories who aspire to join the diplomatic or foreign service career track, what pathways or opportunities exist to get involved?
Sure. So I think I know the answer to this one, but certainly roles in the civil service for those with nationality status, I think will be entirely open. You need a UK nationality to be able to have a British passport in order to be in the Foreign Office. Particular, they are more stringent than other parts of the civil service. But I don't see any for those that are able to have a UK passport, then you're able to apply for the Foreign Office, and certainly those who have that eligibility, I'd encourage them to do so. It's a fantastic career.
All right. Amari Simon's asking, saying thanks for taking the time to do this. Does the governor handle breaches of the Constitution, such as illegitimate MPs?
What you'd look at in terms of Constitution, there's a whole number of provisions in there, from some human rights provisions through to responsibilities of kind of who does what in terms of executive, government, judiciary, and the remedy for that, I think, depends on what the particular issue is. So, for example, if somebody feels that their human rights have been constitutional rights, as for example, regarding their human rights have been challenged by, for example, a decision of government, then they can challenge that through the courts. Would be the appropriate method for doing so. But there are other things which are more about where there's been a clear breach, and obviously, if it affected something where it was a relationship between government and governor, then obviously that would be an absolute conversation to have, as it would be the other way too. For example, if the governor was encroaching into areas that were clearly for government, so it would work both ways. And then, I'm not sure about kind of what the question about illegitimate MPs are, but obviously, if there are issues about eligibility to be in any of these positions of government, there are procedures within the Constitution of how those should be challenged, and for example, that is often through the courts.
All right, last two questions from the audience. Charles H. Jeffers is asking, he's asking, there has been a lot of discussion regarding reparations for descendants of enslaved people recently. Is the governor and/or UK aware of these discussions?
Yeah, I mean, it's a global issue in terms of the ongoing discussions for reparations, and that's a very broad term, or can be understood to be quite a broad term in terms of for slavery. So. Yes, I know the UK government is very well aware of that, and has made statements as to what this particular government in the UK has made statements about what it thinks is the right lens to have that conversation, and I think that's already public in terms of the UK government's position on that.
All right. And final question from the audience. Shamari Sky is asking, the last governor blocked marijuana legislation. If amendments were made to the marijuana legislation, would you support it? If Bermudians want it, will you block it?
Sure. So, and I think this goes to the constitutional position, whether it might be a piece of legislation on cannabis or something else. where the UK essentially is the state, and it has obligations under treaty arrangements with other states. And for cannabis in particular, there is a international treaty that refers to obligations regarding psychotropic substances in terms of possession, use, criminalisation, manufacture, and the like. And the UK is signatory to that, and it has to ensure that it, as the UK, but also its overseas territories over which it is responsible, don't do anything which is in contravention of that international treaty. So that's the line in terms of how any piece of legislation is concerned, is does it breach a treaty. So I think what happened previously was the piece of legislation was determined by the UK government to be in contravention of international law and its obligations, and therefore, as such, the governor of the day did not give assent to it. So where do you take that discussion now? Well, the UK has its own, laws on cannabis, but those laws in Bermuda don't have to be identical. The only limitation, in my view, is that they don't need to be. They have to be within the boundaries of international law. They don't need to be identical to how the UK is dealt with cannabis. So I think there's a room for and I would encourage a discussion and engagement with the UK government on rather than having a piece of legislation, my advice would be look at what you're actually trying to achieve. What is the changes? What is the effect you want? Is it, business, medical use? What is it actually the aims? And then looking about what the limits of international would allow you to do to achieve those aims. And then you create legislation around that to do that. And I think that's a proper area for a conversation to be had.
Yeah. And my final question for you before we free you, let you out.
For the day.
Internationally, and you mentioned Bermuda size earlier. Bermuda is, despite its unique size, right, has a very large voice, right? Our finance, reinsurance sector. We were, one of the first real tourist destinations. How do you see your role in helping to amplify Bermuda's position on global issues such as sustainability, finance, and security?
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of this is about, and I first of all, I agree with the premise of your question. I think Bermuda does punch well above its weight on the international stage in certain areas. And when you think about its size, it is remarkable that it's doing it. But in some ways, once you be here, I'm not surprised because of the, over generations, this place is clearly creative. It's agile. It responds to changing geopolitical situations. It has done for centuries in order to survive. And I think whether it's back in the day, looking at shipbuilding or other types of commodities, and then moving now to kind of modern types of ways of economic success through the financial sector, it's made that changes, and I think it needs to keep making those changes to keep up and start leading the pack. What can the governor do? Well, I think a lot of it is about you can help by promoting the good work and being an advocate and supporter of it. Doesn't necessarily mean you lead it, because obviously on financial matters and economy, it's the government of Bermuda takes the lead. But that doesn't mean, for example, if there aren't, in fact, recently, I get invited onto summits of various sectors and come along to add a voice, make some remarks on it. So I can come along and support that and highlight what I think are the real positives about doing business here, which includes it's a good governance. It's a stable place. It's a safe and secure place to do business, and obviously that coming from the governor does have an effect too. And obviously with the other international actors, like in particular the UK, kind of if there are issues that are of concern here, I can advocate through that to on behalf of Bermuda to make those issues known to the government and on the world stage. But I think there are real things here, and it's not just finance, which has been incredibly successful. But you look for other opportunities in its location, where that might be, satellites and kind of space observations, which I think is an area that's quite exciting development. You're looking at kind of Google with the undersea cables. You look at other kind of technological developments as well. So I think there's plenty of opportunity, and the environment, I think it's got a real role to play in having a very powerful voice. It's a small island territory, middle of the Sargasso Sea, which is of global significance, to have its voice on that particular issue. And I think it's a very powerful voice to have that in an area when people are really concerned about ocean health. So, government leads on environment, but certainly I'll be championing away and supporting everything they do on that and encouraging it.
Governor Murdoch, thank you so much for your time today. This has been amazing. My first time having a conversation with you. I've seen you at town halls. I've read about you in the news, but thank you for engaging us. Thank you for making the time. And please know, if there's anything that we can do to help you during your term and to engage on your behalf, please do not hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful day and all the best as Governor of Bermuda.
Thanks very much for the invite, Jamel. Appreciate it, and a really pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.
Yeah, cheers.
All right. That is Governor Andrew Murdoch, folks. If you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take a quick break. After this break, I want to see how many of you know that place. Stick with us.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazog Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
PALS is a cancer care charity. We started 45 years ago. What started as a charity with a half-time nurse, and basically just assisting patients going home from the hospital, but patients dying at home. We now, 45 years later, have 6 nurses, a social worker, and a palliative care physician. I know a lot of people that watch the Daily Hour every day, so it's just educational. It helps you know more about specific charities or specific organizations, and kind of get the nitty gritty as opposed to just seeing a flyer on social media or just hearing or seeing a commercial. I think it's more beneficial. Like if I'm on the radio or on TV, I'm just like telling you what I think you want to know, but you might have specific questions that I can answer directly. I think it's much better having the live engagement.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to His Excellency, the Governor of Bermuda, Andrew Murdoch, for stopping by again. Folks, if you haven't already, if you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Make sure everyone you know has access to these most important community conversations as possible. All right. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and HSBC Bermuda, for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis as well. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. 4 new games under the Bermuda Trivia brand will be released next month. 4 new different games, 1 regular edition, and 4 special things. So you want to make sure that you click that QR code or scan that QR code up in the corner. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Instagram so that you can get ahead of the game. All right. So follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. It's a name that plays today. And here is the question. I gave you a hint earlier. Said it's about an island. Audience, what is the largest island in the Mediterranean? Wow, no one answered. That means you all are Googling. Nope, Mediterranean. Not Madagascar, Mark C. Phillips. It is Sicily. Sicily. Stacy Brown, Sicily. Traveling Trotty. No, not Gibraltar, Sam. Sicily, yes, Suzanne Ingram. Look at Suzanne. She didn't say Jamal this time. She knew that one. She knew that one. Yeah, no, not Malta. It's Sicily. Dr. Anthony Richardson, Sicily. All right, folks. Traveling Trotty, Sam, Michael Daniels, Anika D. Shields, Amari Simons. Do us a favor, Shamari Sky, please go to our website, thedailyhour.com. Fill out our survey. We will start giving out prizes tomorrow. Again, previously, we only gave out $1 grand prize. We are giving out multiple prizes this year because we want to reward as many people as possible. So just take 8 to 10 minutes, fill out our survey today, and help us help you when it comes to the Daily Hour. All right, folks, let's wrap it up. As far as our roads, I think we've had these conversations over and over and over and over and over. And I don't think I get tired of them. I just don't think we should be having them as often, simply because all of us have a role to play in being more respectful on our roads. So let's all do our part. Let's do our part to improve the behavior on our roads, to create a more safe experience as we try to get from point A to B. As far as the conversation with the governor of Bermuda, you always learn something different when having these conversations. And I'm always interested in learning how they've adapted to Bermuda and how they take the role and what they're looking to achieve while in this role. I appreciate his transparency regarding the questions from the audience as well. So again, grateful to Government House, everyone at Government House, and His Excellency, the Governor of Bermuda, Andrew Murdoch, for stopping by for this conversation and engaging with the everyday Bermudians who rock with us here on the Daily Hour. As far as daily inspiration, I'm just going to give you 2 words this morning. Slow down. All righty, folks. Take it for what you will. I mean, in various aspects of our lives, slow down. Just slow down. All right. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio areas with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.